develop opportunities in society for people to work and live together who are from different ethnic, social, national, and religious backgrounds. Enforce diversity. This will allow people to become more tolerant, understanding of each other. It works. In the United States, public schools serve this function, even though they are heavily segregated right now, as they were even before Brown v. Board of Education at this point in time. But yes, this is why I talk about it all the time. There's a reason why cities are fucking blue. The reason why cities are blue is not because, like, black people live there. Black people live in enclaves in the South. Those areas are blue as well, but other areas are not. Why? Much higher percentage of the population in certain districts where black people live in the South, they vote blue. The population percentage of where black people live or brown people live in cities is much lower than a town in the South. Why? Why do they still vote blue? They vote blue because when you live in an urban environment, when you live in a diverse environment, you become more tolerant. It's segregation that allows this kind of hatred to fester. Number 2, symbolization. We give names of other symbols and classifications of ethnicity, race. We give the name of people, Jews, gypsies, or distinguish them by colors or dress and apply them to different members or groups. Classification and symbolization are universally human and do not necessarily result in genocide unless they lead to the stage of dehumanization. When combined with hatred, symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of minority groups, the yellow star for Jews under the Nazi rule, the blue scarf for people from the Eastern Zone and Khmer Rouge, Cambodia. Sometimes we impose symbols on ourselves, like gangs using certain colors as a group's right, but sometimes backfires when they're discriminated against. Number 3, discrimination. Number 4, dehumanization. Number 5, organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by state, though sometimes informally by terrorist groups. Special army units or militias are often trained and armed. Plans are made for genocidal killings. To combat this stage, membership in these militias should be outlawed. Their leaders should not be allowed to travel outside of their country, where they may be able to raise funds or get weapons. Now, this is deliberately written in a way where you can say this about Hamas, obviously, but also when it's a state that is backed by the United States government, like Israel, it doesn't matter what the classification is. The IDF absolutely falls under this category, but it doesn't matter because America will always block any effort from the UN Security Council. They can veto it. They have full-blown veto power. Number 6 is polarization. Extremists drive the groups apart. Hate groups broadcast propaganda that reinforces the prejudice and hate. Laws may forbid intermarriage and social interaction between the groups. This is literally happening in Israel right now. Extremist terrorism targets moderates and intimidates them so far that they are silent. Moderate leaders are those best able to prevent genocide, and they're often the first to be assassinated. Or sidelined, if not assassinated, or sidelined, neutered, like the secular Palestinian Authority, for example. These 10 steps of genocide is literally like Benjamin Netanyahu's direct approach to how to prop up Hamas and funnel funds into Hamas and use them. Like, this is like a guide almost. Preparation. National or perpetrator group leaders in the plan the final solution to the Jewish, Armenian, Tutsi, or other target groups in question. They often use euphemisms to cloak their intentions, such as referring to their goals as ethnic cleansing, purification, or counterterrorism. They build armies. They buy weapons and train their troops and militias. They indoctrinate the populace with fear of the victim group. Leaders often claim, if we don't kill them, they will kill us. Prevention of the preparation may include arms embargoes and commissions to enforce them. We've already passed this step, by the way. This is the meta. We've already passed this step, and we didn't do the arms embargoes to Israel and commissions to enforce said arms embargoes. At this stage, there are acts of genocide because they intentionally destroy, and genocidal massacres begin. There are acts of genocide because they intentionally destroy part of a group. At this stage, a genocide emergency must be declared. If the political will of great powers, regional alliances, or the UN Security Council can be mobilized, armed international intervention should be prepared, or heavy assistance be provided to the victim groups to prepare for self-defense. Humanitarian assistance should be organized by the UN and private relief groups for the inevitable tide of refugees to come. We are already past this stage. We are now in the extermination stage. Extermination and denial happening side by side, as a matter of fact. Extermination begins and quickly becomes the mass killings legally called genocide. It is extermination to the killers because they do not believe their victims to be fully human. See dehumanization. When it's sponsored by the government, the armed forces often work with private armies to do the killing. Except in this circumstance, it doesn't even have to be the private army. And yes, Central Committee is correct. There are private armies doing the killing in the West Bank. They have armed the extremist settler militias. You are correct on that front as well. You're right. But the other side of the extermination in the Gaza Strip is being conducted by the state, by the military. Anyway, we've experienced all of the different stages that are in this document already, and we're continuously experiencing it. People in positions of power in the Western world and Western media in general know this. They know what's going on here. I think that people don't understand that if they continue doing this, and you see polling numbers like this, for example, percentage of people who agree or disagree that Canada should support Israel against Hamas by political party. 31% disagree on the liberal side. 46% agree that we should help Israel. On the conservatives, 44% agree that we should help Israel. And then the rest of it is 53% disagree. New Democrats, 54% disagree. Bloc Québécois, 60% disagree. And these guys are not exactly fans of Muslims in general. Like, think about that. Even the fucking Bloc Québécois is like, come on, dog. What the fuck are you doing? Sometimes the genocide results in revenge killings by groups against each other, creating the downward whirlpool-like cycle of mutual genocide, where the victims actually organize and commit a second genocide on the perpetrators. At this stage, only rapid and overwhelming armed intervention can stop the genocide. Real safe areas on refugee escape regions should be established with heavily armed international protection. The UN needs troops that can go into genocidal areas and stop the killing when the UN Security Council calls it. The UN may decide to act through a regional military force from organizations like NATO. Relief groups should be prepared to assist the victims. Except what's going on right now? The UN Security Council can't even fucking call for a ceasefire because America keeps vetoing it, and America is assisting the side that is conducting the ethnic cleansing. That's what we're doing right now. And the final stage is denial. Denial is the 10th stage that always follows genocide. It is among the surest indicators of further genocidal massacres. The perpetrators of genocide dig up the mass graves, burn the bodies, try to cover up the evidence, and intimidate the witnesses. They don't really need to do that at this stage. And, we're at the denial stage because America yesterday, by John Kirby's own fucking mouth, and also by the goddamn president, said that the numbers of the dead in Gaza are actually probably fake. That is genocide denial.
As you noted, the Gaza Health Ministry is run by Hamas. But to be clear, the president and the White House, you don't dispute that thousands of Palestinians, many of them innocent civilians, have been killed by Israeli strikes so far, do you?
Of course not. We absolutely know that the death toll continues to rise in Gaza. Of course, we know that. But what we're saying is that we shouldn't rely on numbers put forth by Hamas and the Ministry of Health.
That is genocide denial. I hope you understand that. They are already doing that. You are watching an ethnic cleansing campaign be conducted in 4K pretty much, or they're just fake. Yeah, dude, they're just fake, brother. How can you explain to me how you think those numbers are fake, but you also simultaneously hear Israeli officials say we're fighting human animals and we're going to be indiscriminately bombing? Israeli officials go on television and say, I don't understand why people have any kind of empathy for Palestinians when they're all animals. That happened like 2 days ago on Sky TV.
You know, I'm very puzzled by the constant concern which the world and also Britain, I must say, Mark, is showing for the Palestinian people, and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocities that this century has seen, and the worst atrocities that Jews have suffered since the Holocaust. You know, when the United States reacted to 9/11, I don't remember people shedding tears for the Taliban or Al-Qaeda.
Or when the Israeli government itself literally posts photos flexing that they dropped 6,000 bombs on an area that is smaller than fucking Rhode Island. They are saying these numbers aren't fake. It is ridiculous to say, how does that prove the numbers are real? How can you live with yourself? You are literally a Nazi at that point. You are engaging in ethnic cleansing denial as the ethnic cleansing is happening. But it's not surprising. Many Western dogs had this same fucking perspective when the Nazis were ethnically cleansing Jews during the Holocaust. They wrote about it and said, that's unbelievable. I mean, I know the Nazis are cruel, but they can't go that fucking hard. I mean, come on now. That's precisely what many in the Western world, in Western media said. Not only has the Gaza health officials released all of the information of all of the 7,000 that have died, time and time again, every single third-party verification group Every single NGO like the Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, Amnesty International, and more importantly, the American State Department has utilized the Hamas-backed Gaza Health Ministry